Yeah, so Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Good morning from my side, good evening, good day to everybody joining us from different parts of the world. As Joshua said, my name is Stephanie. I'm Staphenie Ezeonye. He calls me Yoruba woman because I married a Yoruba person here in grad school. But anyway, um, so as he said, I just graduated from the University of Nevada, Reno. I studied chemistry, polymer chemistry. I just graduated this spring, and I am currently working in a mining company. Um, yeah, so without further ado, I feel as if we can go straight into the topic for today. So I'm sharing my screen, right, Joshua? Okay. All right. So share. Okay, perfect. So
Yeah, we can see your screen.
slideshow. I'm beginning. So you can see the screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the topic is basically writing an excellent statement of purpose. So today we're going to be talking about everything that has to do with writing a statement of purpose. So we'll start with the outline. So the first thing is, why should I write a statement of purpose? The difference between a personal statement and statement of purpose. What should I include in my SOP? How do I structure an SOP? And how can I make my SOP to stand out? All right, so the first question, why should I write a statement of purpose? So first off, grad school essays is the thing that will speak for you when you're not there. So you're basically trying to sell yourself. You're talking about yourself. Meanwhile, you're not there. So it's basically you writing about yourself, and it's what is selling you when you're not there, right? So another thing is that the admission committee gets an in-depth knowledge of who you are from your essay, and it supplements your CV. So basically your CV writes like everything you've done, your education, your history, your work experience, but the SOP has a way of structuring it into like a full, like comprehensive story of who you are, right? So you're going to start off with what motivated you. Why do you want to study this? What motivated you into studying it? You don't write those things in your CV, right? So you want to say what motivated you? What challenges did you face? So it's basically you trying to tell yourself, trying to sell yourself, trying to talk about who you are in an essay. So these are one of the major things they look at when they are giving admission. So the next one we're going to look at is the difference between a personal statement and statement of purpose. So during my time when I was applying for grad school, there were some schools that would ask strictly just attach your statement of purpose. That's fine. Then there are some schools that would tell you attach a personal statement and a statement of purpose. There are some schools that will tell you attach a research statement, personal statement, and a statement of purpose. So most times, so we're here in the US, so if you're applying to schools, especially in California, they will ask for three: research statement, personal statement, and statement of purpose. So basically, research statement, I feel as if that one, uh, that one is more like we understand research statement is like, what have you been doing? What research have you done? So I want to highlight like the difference between a personal statement and a statement of purpose. So the personal statement provides insight into your personality, values, and motivation. It highlights your personal journey, challenges you've overcome, and your reason for choosing your career path. So personal statement is basically you talking about you and not so much about your academic background or professional background. It's more of something personal. For example, it's basically writing that, okay, when I was growing up, I didn't really grow up in a family I didn't grow up in a very elite family, or I'm the first generation. My parents are not educated. That's where you share some personal experience. So you can then say that because of this experience that your parents are not educated or something, I'm giving an example, that this is what is motivating you to go for grad school. This is also where you can talk about the challenges you faced. right? For example, when I was writing my personal statement, I always kept writing about the issues I faced because I did my primary school in South Africa. So if you know South Africa, you know racism is a very big thing. So I wrote about it that I encountered it because I was like one of the blacks out of 1,000 millions of white children. So that's what I wrote, that despite everything, this was the challenge I faced, and this is how I overcame it, right? You can also write about the challenges you faced secondary school, growing up, the financial issues you face. Like, what did you face? How did you overcome it? How is that linking to, how is that making you want to go for graduate school? Just find a way to link it up, the problems you've faced, how you overcame it, and how it has led to where you are now. So it's basically you talking about yourself. Okay. The SOP, so that's for personal statement. Now, statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose outlines your academic, professional background, and your research interest, and your reason for pursuing a graduate degree. It demonstrates your qualifications, your understanding of the field, and your fit for the program. So what I most times tell people is that if they just ask for a statement of purpose, it's okay to include one or two personal things in your statement of purpose, but generally it will be more of your professional background and your research background. So the SOP generally outlines everything. So now if they ask you to write a personal statement and a statement of purpose, so your personal statement will talk more about your personal experience, and your SOP would therefore talk more about your professional experience. So for SOP, you're talking about what motivated you, like one paragraph, what motivated you to want to go for graduate school. Then you're going to talk about your background. What did you do in your undergrad? What did you study? Did you do research? Did you get any form of, scholarships? Did you get any form of awards? So that's what you're writing about. You're trying to sell yourself in that aspect. If you're trying to apply for a PhD, you can talk about, okay, do you have any publication? What did you, so it's basically you writing about what are your experiences? You've worked in a lab, you've done research. What instruments do you know how to work on, right? So what are the skills that you have? That's basically what you're talking about more in the aspect of an SOP. So what should I include in my SOP? Number one, introduction. So you're going to start with a captivating opening, personal anecdote, or a quote that sparked your interest in the field and clearly state your field of interest and long-term goal. So why it's advised to write a captivating opening is that if anybody's reading it, I feel as if the beginning part is what people want to see. Like you're writing something very, very catchy, like a catchy quote in the beginning. People are going to be like, wow, this is interesting. Let me read more. So that's why it's actually advisable to start with something very, very capturing. Let your first paragraph be very, very enticing. I'm still going to give some examples later on, but that is it. So you're going to start with something captivating. What sparked your interest in the field that you are currently in? All right, so academic background. So basically, that's the first paragraph. You're starting with the introduction, where you state, okay, because of moving, okay, I'm going to give an example. Growing up, I have noticed that pollution is a very big aspect of, is a very big problem faced in my country. So due to this sparked my interest to go into environmental chemistry, polymer chemistry because of pollution. Then from there, you state your long-term goal, for example, and the end, I plan on becoming an environmental consultant, So just find a way to make your first paragraph very interesting. That's what I'm trying to pinpoint at. The second is your academic background. Highlight your academic journey and relevant coursework. Emphasize your research/thesis and any major projects. Also mention skills or techniques you learned. So this is quite self-explanatory. So you're writing about your academic journey in, for example, undergrad. What did you do? So let's say you're trying to go for a master's in organic chemistry or quantum chemistry. So they expect you to write the coursework that you've taken. For example, you did an undergrad Chem 301 course in quantum chemistry. Show them that you're not used to this, show them that you're already used to it, that this is not new to you. You've taken relevant courses, that you've done your own path, right? Emphasize your thesis, research, or any major project. Talk about your thesis. So thesis is basically what we call, especially in Nigeria, is project. Talk about your project. What did you do? Right? For example, during my time, I used the GCMS. Right? I used the GCMS, though I did not use it directly. Someone had to help me. So I had to just supervise while they were doing it for me because I didn't have like technical experience. Those are the things you write down in your SOP, right? Find a way to make it find a way to show yourself that you have worked with this, So that's it. Write down the skills you've learned. Writing down skills are like a very major thing. Write it down. Write down the skills you've learned. What kind of research did you do? What did you learn? So just every little project you did, write it down. I remember then that I would, there was a time that I was writing my CV, I'm writing my SOP. So I gave it to my cousin to review it. Then he was like, wait, is this all you have? Because it was very scanty. I was like, yeah. He was not like, wait, didn't you do any project in school? I was like, yeah, I did one small project. He was like, write it down. It looks small in your eye. But if you write it down, it's a very big thing. Write it down, make it look enticing, for graduate school. And that is it. And that can give you an edge. So next one is research/work experience. Detail any hands-on experience in labs, industry, or internships. Highlight teamwork, problem-solving, and analytical thinking. Use a STAR format. That's situation, task, action, and results. So first off, detail any hands-on experience in the lab, industry, or internship. So I know as of my time when I was an undergrad, in your third year, you're expected to do internship, right? It's a 3-month internship. Then I think for engineering students, you get to do an internship for, I don't know if it's 6 months or a whole year, I can't remember. But that internship is one of the things that helps you because this is more like the place where you get this experience, where you get hands-on work experience that you can put in your resume. So when it comes to research or work experience, especially and also you're also in the better position of even getting admission if after graduation you've worked in your industry, you've gained experience, so that goes a long way. Right. So detail any hands-on experience in the lab industry or during your internship. Highlight teamwork, problem solving, and analytical thinking. So you're going to talk about, okay, you worked in this place. You were part of a team. This was what you were doing. What problems did you encounter? What issues did you encounter? Did you ever have a teamwork issue? Did you ever have a work-related issue? How did you solve it? Situation, task, action, result. These are what you're talking about. You want to show that you've worked here and you know what you're doing, right? So this also gives you an edge, and this is what you want to include in your SOP. Career goals, short-term goals. What do you want to do right after the program? Long-term goals. What kind of impact do you hope to make? Yes, so you want to include your career goals because you don't want to just write that you want to get to grad school. Why are you going to grad school? Why? What's the major reason? What's the big picture after grad school? Right. So you can write down, okay, after grad school, I plan on working as a specialist, and in the long term, I want to become a consultant. So depending on the field you're in, just write down the short term. It might not be exactly, you might not be so sure, but you have to show them that you have an idea of what you want to achieve. So next thing is why this program/position. Mention any similarities between your goal and the program offering. Okay, why do you want to use this program? How does this program benefit you? Right? So you need to include why does this program benefit you? What position? How does your value and that of the schools align? Right? So most schools, they'll tell you our value is to give off knowledge, values, and train people to become leaders. Then you're going to be like, you plan on being a leader and your values coincides with that of the school, right? So you have to show that your values and that of the school, they work or they align, work together. Then you're going to end with a closing statement. You're going to reaffirm your enthusiasm and readiness. Show them that you're very, very interested in this and that it will go a long way in your career path, and politely express gratitude for the opportunity to apply. So I'm going to do an activity. So I'm going to give 2 SOPs, and you're going to tell me which is a strong SOP and why do you think the SOP is strong, right? So I'm going to give 2 SOPs. You're going to read it. We're going to read it together. Then someone will tell me which of the SOPs would stand out better and why. Okay. So here are the 2 SOPs. So the first one is in Nigeria. So basically I used my experience, right? So if you don't really know much about it, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to give you an example of how an SOP should be constructed. So in Nigeria, plastic waste is more than just an eyesore. It's a direct contributor to blocked drainage system and the increasing incidence of urban flooding. Growing up in Lagos, I witnessed firsthand how plastic pollution affected communities, particularly during rainy season when drainage channels overflow due to accumulated waste. Studies have shown a global surge in plastic generation, but the effects are especially severe in developing regions like Africa, where recycling infrastructure is limited. These experiences have fueled my determination to pursue research on the synthesis of degradable and recyclable polymers. The opportunity to contribute to sustainable solutions through cutting-edge polymer science motivates me. Polymer science motivates me to explore innovative ways to mitigate plastic waste and support environmental resilience in vulnerable regions. That's the first SOP. And the second is, studies have shown that the amount of plastics being generated has increased globally. In Africa, there are not enough recycling facilities, which is why plastic waste end up in rivers and drains. In Nigeria, this has caused flooding. I want to research degradable and recyclable polymers to help solve this problem. I'm excited about using new technologies to address pollution, and I hope this research will help the environment. So I just need one person, can be more than one person, to just tell me what they feel the major issues would be between these 2 SOPs. So feel free to raise your hand, then I would call on you, or Joshua will call on you, and you could tell us what the difference is.
Yeah, Miracle, you can go ahead.
Okay, because I can't even see. Okay, Miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So for me, the strong SOP is the first one, because you put yourself in it, as per you having a first-hand experience of what plastic pollution has caused. Unlike the other one that is it's just generalized, like based on the happenings, this is what you want to do. So I'll go with the first one, because it actually shows where your research interest actually came from. So
Okay.
Yeah, we
That's
have a
very good.
second person. Let's hear it.
Okay. Do we have a second person?
Yeah, Oni Kinde.
Thank you so much, sir. So like she said, the first one actually showed that it's something you witness, like an experience. So you putting yourself into the story actually would make them it will make it more credible, like the credibility. So unlike the second, which is just like an abstract, and also the first one actually it explained why, like what really triggered you to want to, you know, go on that research, and it actually explained the research you want to go on like you want to research also. Unlike the second one is just like a general field in chemistry, but the first one was very specific about the research that you actually want to apply to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so is there any other person? I still have another activity, so we can still take more later. So, all right, so let's look at the answer. So yes, paragraph 1 is a strong SOP. So why? Let's look at it. So first off, it starts with a localized experience. It starts with a personal experience, flooding in Nigeria, right? So I have experienced it and I know what it feels. So I'm talking about my experience. Number 2, ties personal experience to broader global issue. So if you look at it back, so it says that I have witnessed firsthand how plastic pollution affected communities, particularly during rainy season when drainage channels overflow due to accumulated waste. And because of this, I have found out that studies have shown a global surge in plastic generation. So because of this, so from my experience, I have found out that this is actually, I've linked it that this is a global issue, right? And another thing is that it clearly states research interest with technical focus. So it's basic. So the fact is that if I should write anything like this, so everybody has seen, okay, this is actually a problem. Let's say I'm not even from Nigeria, so I see this and I'm like, okay, this is actually true. Okay, now you want to study this. I understand the reason, right? So you're given a first-hand experience of what you faced. And from what you've said, it makes sense that you want to study or want to do this in your research. And again, it shows or demonstrates motivation, urgency, and purpose. So because of these issues, you're motivated. And you can see that because of this, as I said, it's leading to blocked drainages, it's leading to flooding. You can see that this is urgency and it has a purpose, right? So that's what you want to show. Well, that's why the first paragraph works best compared to the other one that is very generic, right? So it's just, so you're basically just saying, okay, you've seen studies have shown that the amount of plastic being generated affects Africa. Okay, then because of that, you want to study it. And another thing is that the last paragraph of this SOP says, and I hope this research will help the environment. You're not even sure, right? So you want to actually show that you want to address this problem. So activity number 2, which is a weak SOP, and why do you think it's a weak SOP? So I need another person to answer this question. So you can just quickly raise your hand and Joshua would call on you because I can't see the hands raised from here. Okay, so before we raise our hand, let me quickly read through it. So it says, during my undergraduate studies, I worked on a thesis related to natural products. My supervisor was Dr. Smith. I used a GCMS machine to find chemical compounds in herbal mixtures in Nigeria. I also checked how many chemicals people were exposed to. I also worked on a project with moringa where I extracted bioactive compounds. This project helped me to learn more about chemistry. The second one is, as an undergraduate at the University of Lagos, I developed a strong interest in environmental and natural product chemistry. Under the supervision of Dr. Smith, my thesis involved using gas chromatography mass spectrometry, GCMS, to chemically profile herbal liquid extracts sold in Nigeria. I identified the compounds present and assessed consumer exposure based on dosage recommendations. This experience deepened my awareness of public health risks from unregulated products. I also worked on isolating bioactive compounds from the moringa plant, which strengthened my lab skill and sparked my passion for applying chemistry to real-world environmental challenges. All right, I see Odochukwu Joyce Uchechi's hand is up. So you can answer the question.
Yeah, Joy, please go ahead. We can't hear you. Although you're muted, I don't know, but we can't hear you. Joy, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh my God.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Oh,
Joy, unmute and go ahead. We can hear you. We could hear you earlier, but you are muted right now. Okay, we can have Victor Idoko.
Okay, good day, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the first one is the weak SOP, and the reason being that the first SOP was just speaking
hello.
about hello. Was the first SOP wasn't talking specifically about what your purpose to go and study abroad, in the sense that you only could identify the problem, but you are not willing to like study. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah. So why the second one? The second one specifically, the second SOP is stronger in the sense that you were able to identify the problem of the people, which motivates you and prompts you to study so as in order to find solution to the problem. I don't know if that's something. Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you very much, Victor. That is correct. Is there any other person that wants to talk? Joshua. Joshua.
Yeah, Stephanie. I said someone on iPhone. Like there's someone iPhone, named iPhone.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
So I think the first one is the weak SOP, because you only talked about the thesis, you didn't talk about how it improved your skills.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right. Thank you so much. So,
You didn't talk about how it improved your skills. So.
All right. All right, so let's look at the answer, which is a weak SOP and why. So the weak SOP is the first one, which is correct, which is a paragraph 1. I don't know why I wrote that too. But the weak SOP, as you guys all said, is the first one. And the question is why. So first off, we notice that there's a vague description, GCMS, find chemical compounds. So we can see here it's just written GCMS. Whenever you're writing these chemical, or whenever you're writing these kind of hyphenated, documents, please write down their full name, right? Write down the full name of the machine you're using. So it says, I worked on a thesis related to natural products. Okay, what thesis? How does it relate to natural products, right? My supervisor was Dr. Smith, nothing else. I use the GCMS to find chemical compounds in herbal mixtures. Okay, so after you found it, what happened? How did you find it? Nothing is said. I also checked how many chemicals people were exposed to. Okay, so what are the chemicals? How many? I also worked on a project with moringa. So we can see this, that it's not explicit. It's not explanatory, right? So we have repetitive phrasing and lack of flow, right? So I worked on a thesis related to natural products, full stop, nothing more. My supervisor was Dr. Smith, nothing more. So it's very short and there is no flow, right? It lacks the flow. Like it does not connect. So anytime you're writing an SOP, you really want to connect it, let it make sense to the reader, to the person reading it. All right. So it doesn't explain the significance or result of the work. So as I said, you've done all these things. Okay, chemicals were exposed to. How many chemicals were they exposed to? What chemicals? How can you reduce the exposure? right? It doesn't explain any of things. So we basically want to emphasize on it. Do not give a generic SOP, right? You want to talk about in depth of what you have done. All right, so misses a chance to connect to broader interest or future goals, right? So it doesn't talk about, okay, now that you've done this thing, how does that help you? For example, here it says, which strengthened my lab skills and sparked my interest for applying chemistry to real world environmental challenges. So basically you want to, like, after writing everything, you want to show the broader picture of what you've done, right? Or how what you've done is going to benefit the world at large. All right, so how can I make my SOP stand out? So first of all, you want to be specific about your research interests and career goals. So you want to tell them, okay, this is what I am interested in my research. This is the end goal, right? So tailor each SOP to the specific program you're applying to. So when you're applying, especially for grad school, you're going to be applying to different schools, and different schools have different programs. So what am I saying? When I applied to UNR, I applied for the program of chemistry. That's graduate school chemistry, Department of Chemistry. There were also some schools that I applied to. There were also some schools that I applied to, and what the program title was Agriculture and Environmental Waste Management, right? So you want to tailor the SOP to the program you're applying to, right? Another thing that's also very, very advisable is that to find out more about the program. What have they done? What can you learn? What do you have to offer? Like, you studying this, how does it align with the program, right? There's also another school that I applied to. It was I've forgotten the name of the program. I think it was toxicology and environmental something. So basically what I'm trying to say is that you have to tailor the program to your tailor your SOP to the specific program. Do not use a generic SOP. Another thing is that you want to highlight unique experiences and achievement. So as I said earlier, the SOP is a place where you sell yourself. So highlight your experiences. What experience did you get? Make it stand out, make it sound interesting, right? You can actually, so this is what people say they don't like about LinkedIn, that LinkedIn, you can literally be a mechanic, but the way you've written it makes it look as if it's something else. That's also what you want to, I'm not saying you're lying, but you want to sell yourself in a very, very enticing way in your SOP. Right, so that's what you want to do. So highlight your unique experiences and your achievements. Tell them what you have achieved. Tell them what you've done, And lastly, show enthusiasm and a clear understanding of the program and its faculty, right? So this is going back to what I've said. Show enthusiasm and clear understanding of the program. Research about the program. See what they've done. See what they're currently doing. What is unique about this program? What is unique about the school and their research? What do you like generally about the research? Highlight all those things. Let them see that, oh, you've actually, you've been reading about it, right? All right, so how long should your SOP be? I don't know if I should throw this out. So how long should it be? Can anybody tell us or give us and what they think the length of an SOP should be? Who has an idea? Just tell us then before I show out how much it is. So does anybody want to tell us how long they think an SOP should be? Oni, you can throw.
All right, so I feel no more than 2 pages, or
2 pages.
it should be a lot according to the specification from the department. Because there are some schools that will be like no more than 500 pages, 500 words, no more than 1,000 words. So it depends on the requirement from the department, and if there are no requirement, no specifications, then it should be more than 2 pages, unless it gets boring.
Perfect. Is there any other person that wants to say any other thing or has another idea? Michael. Does any other person have?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just like what you say too,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the university giving their specifics. So 2 pages or a page should be fine. Or like maybe the words, maybe 500 words or so.
Okay. Well, both of you have spoken well. So whenever you're writing an SOP, it's typically between 1 to 2 pages long, depending on the program's requirements. Always check the specific guidelines provided by each institution. So I asked that question to kind of have an idea if people here have actually been writing SOP. So from the 2 answers I've gotten, I see that SOP is not a new thing. So you guys have been writing an SOP. So yes, you're right. It's typically between 1 to 2 pages long. At times it depends on the school. So sometimes they'll be like, okay, it should not exceed 500 words. It should not exceed 1,000 words. For example, if you're writing 3 statements, they might tell you, okay, it should not exceed 500 words. And I think if they tell you it's not exceeding 500 words, I feel as if 500 words is like 1 page. So you want to keep it within 500 words. So always keep that in mind. Extra tips. First off, proofread. Ensure your statements are free of grammatical errors and typos. Yes, you want someone else to read it, or you want to proofread it to ensure it's free of grammatical errors and typos. So during my time, what I used, so as of the time I was writing SOPs, there was nothing like ChatGPT. So as of then, what they had was Grammarly. So I was using Grammarly to, ensure that my statements were free of any form of errors. Right? So seek feedback, have mentors, professors, or friends review your statement. So during my time, what I did was that I already knew someone in my school that's UNR. So he was the one that proofread or like read my SOP and gave me feedback. Right? So have someone read it. If you're possible, or if you're lucky to have someone in that research field give you feedback or review about your SOP, that's perfect. Or if you have someone in that school that you're applying to review it, that's perfect. Or if you have someone that has even gone for grad school, that's perfect. So have someone review it, let them get someone else's feedback. The only issue with this feedback, I'm going to talk from experience, is that you can have 5 different people. You can have 5 different people that have read your SOP. And the funny thing is that one person, another person's opinion might be different, which is very, very, very common, right? So you can write it like this, and one person says it's good. Another person sees it and is like, no, do it like this. I did it like this and I got admission. Another person will be like, no, I wrote it like this and I got admission. So generally in that kind of case, I would say look for the one that you're most comfortable with, because now it all boils back to you, right? So except you're sure, or except you have no idea of what it's about, but look for the one, okay, that you feel as if you trust this person's opinion and you want to stick to it, right? Because at that point, it can be quite confusing. But generally, have people review your work, especially people that are in the position that you want to be. Thirdly, be concise, stick to the point, and avoid unnecessary information, right? So you want to stick to the point. Even though you're trying to give as much context as possible, you still want to explain what you're trying to explain. So if you're explaining your research, you want to explain your research and you don't want to divert into something else that is not related to it, right? So still be concise, stick to the point, avoid information that you feel might be unnecessary. That's one. And the last is follow guidelines. Adhere to any specific instructions or prompts provided by the program, right? Follow. So most times programs, they give information of how they want it to be. So adhere to their instruction. So some SOPs, they might tell you that they want you to include the professors you would like to work with in your SOP. So you're to include that, right? So if you're given any guideline, follow the guidelines given by the program, then that should be fine. With that, I have come to the end. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I stayed within the time. If you have any